Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live.
The 3rd of December, 1900, Volume 4. The nature of the Most Holy Trinity is formed of most pure, most simple, communicative love. This morning, as I was outside of myself, I found myself with baby Jesus in my arms, and while I delighted in looking at him, I don't know how, from the same baby a second came out, and after a few instants, a third baby, both of them similar to the first, though distinct among themselves. Stupefied in looking at this, I said, "Oh, how one can touch with hand the sacrosanct mystery of the Most Holy Trinity, that while you are one, you are also three." It seemed to me that all three of them spoke to me, but as the word came out, it became one single voice. Our nature is formed of most pure, most simple, communicative love, and the nature of true love has this of its own. It produces from itself images fully similar to itself in power, in goodness, in beauty, and in everything it contains, and only to give more sublime prominence to our omnipotence, it places the mark of distinction in such a way that, melting in love, this nature of ours, which is simple, with no matter at all which might prevent our union, forms three persons, and returning to melt, it forms one. It is so true that the nature of true love has this prerogative of producing images fully similar to itself, or of assuming the image of the beloved, that the second person, in redeeming mankind, assumed the nature and the image of man, and communicated the divinity to man. While they were saying this, I could distinguish my beloved Jesus very well, recognizing the image of the human nature in him. And only because of him I had the confidence to remain in their presence. Otherwise, who would have dared? Ah, yes, it seemed to me that the humanity assumed by Jesus had opened commerce for the creature, so as to let her ascend up to the throne of the divinity, to be admitted to converse with them, and to obtain deeds of graces. Oh, what happy moments I enjoyed! How many things I understood! But in order to describe something, I would have to describe it when my soul is with my dear Jesus, as she seems to be set free from the body. But as soon as I find myself imprisoned again, the darkness of the imprisonment, the distance of my mystical son, the pain of not seeing him, render me incapable of describing it, make me live dying. Yet I am forced to live, fastened, imprisoned in this miserable body. Ah, Lord, have compassion for a miserable sinner who lives infirm and imprisoned. Break soon the wall of this prison, that I may fly to you and come back no more. End of the reading. The 3rd of December 1902, Volume 4. Disturbances with regard to obedience. Jesus reassures her. This morning, as I was in my usual state and my fears continued, when blessed Jesus came, I said to him, "Life of my life, how come you do not let me obey the order of the superiors?" And he, "And you, my daughter, don't you see where the opposition comes from? It is the human will that does not unite with the divine, so that they may kiss and become one. And when there is opposition between these two wills, since the divine will is superior, the human will loses by necessity. Besides, what else do they want? I have told you that if they want, I make you fall into that state. If they do not want, I let you obey. But as for the obedience that I should make you fall and I should make you come round without their coming, leaving this thing independent of them and all at my disposal, this is up to me. Whether I want to keep you in this state for 1 minute or half an hour, whether I have to make you suffer or not, this remains all under my care. And if they want otherwise, it would be wanting to dictate to me the laws of how and of when. I am the one who must do things, and this would be wanting to meddle too much in my judgments and acting as my master, while the creature is supposed to adore, not to investigate. I was left incapable of answering. Seeing that I was not answering, he added, "This not wanting to persuade themselves grieves me very much. You, however, in contrasts and mortifications, do not keep your gaze on them, but fix it on me, who was the target of contradictions, and as you suffer them, you will become more similar to me. In this way, your nature will not be able to move, and you will remain calm and tranquil. I want that on your part you do as much as you can to obey them. As for the rest, leave it to my care without becoming disturbed." End of the reading. The 3rd of December 1903, Volume 6. With the divine will, we are everything. Without it, we are nothing. Continuing in my usual state, my blessed Jesus came for a little, telling me, "My daughter, any human action which has no connection with the divine will puts God out of his own creation. Even suffering itself, as holy, noble, and precious as it might be before my eyes, if it is not a birth from my will, instead of pleasing me, makes me indignant and is disgusting to me. O power of the will of God, how holy, adorable, and lovable you are! With you we are everything, even if we did nothing, because your will is fecund and gives birth to all goods for us. Without you we are nothing, even if we did everything, because the human will is sterile and makes everything sterile." End of the reading. The 3rd of December 1904, Volume 6. The mistakes contained in these writings. 2 questions to know whether it is God or the devil that operates in Louisa. Continuing in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself, cast to the ground before the sun, whose rays penetrating through the whole of me, inside and out, leaving me as though enchanted. After much time, tired of that position, I began to crawl on the ground, for I did not have the strength to get up and walk. Then, after I struggled very much, a virgin came, who took me by the hand and led me inside a room on a bed in which there was baby Jesus placidly sleeping. Content for having found him, I placed myself near him, but without waking him. After some time, as he woke up, he began to stroll on the bed, and I, fearing that he might disappear, said, "Pretty little one of my heart, you know that you are my life. Oh, please do not leave me." And he, "Let us establish how many times I must come." And I, "My only good, what are you saying? Life is always necessary, therefore always, always." In the meantime 2 priests came, and the baby withdrew into the arms of one of them, commanding me to speak with the other. This one wanted an account of my writings, and was reviewing them one by one. Fearing, I said to him, "Who knows how many mistakes are in there?" And he, with affable seriousness, said, "What mistakes? Against the Christian law?" And I, "No, grammar mistakes." And he, "This doesn't matter." And I, gaining confidence, added, I fear that it may be all an illusion. And he, looking straight at me, replied, Do you think I need to review your writings to know whether you are a deluded one or not? With 2 questions I will ask you. I will know whether it is God or the devil that operates in you. First, do you think that you have deserved all the graces that God has given you, or that you have been gift and grace of God? And I, everything by the grace of God. Second, do you think that in all the graces that the Lord has given you, your goodwill has anticipated grace, or that grace has anticipated you? And I, certainly grace has always anticipated me. And he, these answers will make me know that you are not a deluded one. At that moment I found myself inside myself. End of the reading. The 3rd of December 1906, Volume 7. The Sweetness and the Peace of the Soul. Since Blessed Jesus was not coming, I felt such bitterness. Not only this, but a sort of hitch within my interior, such as to make me almost restless. Oh, what pain! All other pains compared to this are nothing but shadows, or rather refreshment. Your privation alone can be given the name of pain. Now, while I was fidgeting, he came out, in passing, from within my interior, and he said to me, What is the matter with you? Calm yourself, calm yourself. Here I am, not only with you, but in you. And then I do not want this restless heart. Everything in you must be sweetness and peace, in such a way that it may be said of you that which is said about me, that nothing but milk and honey flows within me, symbolizing sweetness with honey and peace with milk. I am so filled and soaked with them that they pour out from my eyes, from my mouth, and from all of my works. And if you are not likewise, I feel dishonoured by you, because while the one who is all peace and sweetness dwells within you, you do not honour me by showing even the slightest shadow of a resentful and restless heart. I love this sweetness and peace so much that even if it were about something great concerning my honour and glory, I do not want, I never approve, resentful, violent, fiery manners, but rather sweet and peaceful manners. In fact, sweetness alone is that which binds heart like a chain, in such a way that they cannot unbind themselves. It is like pitch that sticks to them, and they cannot free themselves, and are forced to say, In this soul there is the finger of God, for we cannot act otherwise. And then, if I do not like a resentful manner, not even creatures will like it. If one speaks about or deals with things even of God, with manners that are not sweet and peaceful, it is a sign that he does not have his passions in order, and one who does not keep himself in order cannot order others. Therefore, be careful with anything which is not sweetness and peace, if you do not want to dishonour me. End of the reading. The 3rd of December 1921, Volume 13. Redemption is salvation, the divine will is sanctity. I was feeling all doubtful and annihilated because of all that my Jesus says about his divine will, and I thought to myself, how is it possible that he let so many centuries go by without making known these prodigies of the divine will, and that he did not choose among so many saints one who would give start to this sanctity fully divine? Yet there were the apostles and many other great saints who stupefied the whole world. Now, as I was thinking of this, not giving me time and interrupting my thought, he came and told me, The little daughter of my will does not want to convince herself. Why do you still doubt? Because I see myself bad, and the more you speak, the more annihilated I feel. And Jesus, this is what I want, your annihilation. And the more I speak to you about my will, since my word is creative, it creates my will in yours, and yours remains annihilated and dissolved before the power of mine. This is the reason for your annihilation. Know that your will must dissolve within mine, just as the snow dissolves at the rays of a burning sun. Now you must know that the greater is the work I want to do, the more preparations are needed. How many prophecies, how many preparations, how many centuries did not precede my redemption? How many symbols and figures did not anticipate the conception of my celestial Mama? Then, after I accomplished redemption, I had to strengthen man in the goods of redemption, and for this I chose the apostles as the strengtheners of the fruits of redemption, as they were to look for the lost man and lead him to safety by means of the sacraments. Therefore, redemption is salvation. It is to save man from any precipice. This is why I told you another time that making the soul live in my will is greater than redemption itself, because being saved, living a life in the middle, now falling and now standing up, is not so difficult. And this was impetrated by my redemption, because I wanted to save man at any cost. And this I entrusted to my apostles as the depositories of the fruits of redemption. So having to do the feast first, I left the most for later, reserving other times for the fulfillment of my high designs. Now, living in my will is not only salvation, but is sanctity, which must rise over all other sanctities, and which must carry the seal of the sanctity of the Creator. Therefore, minor sanctities were to come first as cortege bearers, messengers, and preparations for this sanctity, which is fully divine. And just as in redemption I chose my incomparable Mama as the link of connection with me, from which the fruits of redemption had to descend, I chose you a link of connection from which the sanctity of living in my will was to have its beginning. A sanctity which, coming out from my will to bring me the complete glory of the purpose for which man was created, would make man come back along the same steps of my will in order to return to his Creator. What is your wondering then? These are things established from eternity, and no one will be able to move them. Since this thing is great, establishing my kingdom in the soul also on earth, I acted like a king who has to take possession of a kingdom. He does not go there first, rather first he has his royal palace prepared. Then he sends his soldiers to prepare the kingdom and to dispose the peoples to his subjection. Then following the guards of honour and the ministers, the last one is the king. This is decorous for a king. So I did. I had my royal palace prepared, which is the church. The soldiers have been the saints, in order to make me known to the peoples. Then came the saints who showed miracles as my most intimate ministers. And now I myself come to reign as the king. Therefore I had to choose a soul in whom to establish my first dwelling, and in whom to found this kingdom of my will. So let me reign and give me full freedom. End of the reading.
All to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him in His presence.
the 3rd of December 1926, Volume 20. How the divine will eclipses the humanity of Jesus within the soul. How the human will puts distance between God and the soul. How we are rays of light that came out from God. How the imprisonment of Jesus is symbol of the prison of the human will. Continuing in my usual abandonment in my adorable supreme fiat, I anxiously longed for my highest good, Jesus, in that endless light of the eternal volition whose boundaries cannot be seen, either where they begin or where they end. I was all eyes to see if I could catch sight of him whom I so much longed for. And Jesus, to calm my restlessness, came out from within my interior. And on seeing him, I said to him, "My love, how you make me struggle and sigh for your return. You are really waiting for the moment when I can take no more. How clearly it shows that you no longer love me as before. Yet you told me that you would love me more and more, and that you would never be without me. And now you leave me, maybe even for one entire day, prey to pain and under the press of your privation, abandoned and all alone." And Jesus, interrupting my speaking, said to me, "My daughter, courage, do not lose heart. I do not leave you. And this is so true that it is always from within your interior that I come out to spend time with you. And if you do not always see me, I do this to give you the field in order to follow that single act of my will that contains all acts together. Do you not see that the light of my supreme volition flows from within your heart, from your mouth, from your eyes, from your hands, from your feet, from all of your being? And as it eclipses me within you, you do not always see me, because being endless, which my very humanity is not, it has the strength to eclipse me. And I enjoy this eclipse of my supreme volition, and from within you I see your flight, your acts in the divine fiat. If I made myself seen always, in order to spend time with me and to enjoy my sweet and lovable presence, you would occupy yourself with my humanity. You would pour out your love with me and I with you, and you would not have the heart to leave me in order to follow the flight of my will in the creation and in the very acts that my humanity did in redemption. Therefore, in order to make you fulfill the mission entrusted to you, to render you more free, I remain within you as though hidden, to follow your very acts in the eternal fiat. Do you not remember that this was said to my very apostles, that it was necessary for them to detach themselves from my humanity, that they loved very much and could not be without it? This is so true that as long as I lived on earth, they did not depart from me, in order to go throughout the whole world to preach the gospel, make my coming upon earth known. But after my departure for heaven, invested by the divine Spirit, they received this strength to leave their region, in order to make known the goods of redemption, and to lay down even their lives for love of me. So my humanity would have been a hindrance to the mission of my apostles. I am not saying that happens to you, because between you and me there isn't this hindrance. In fact, a hindrance occurs when two beings are separable. But when two beings have identified themselves with each other, so much that one lives within the other, the hindrance ends, because wherever one goes, the other is as well. So, since they are together, no efforts are needed in order to go wherever one wants, because the beloved is within her, to follow her everywhere. I'm only saying that often the eclipse occurs because of the strong light of my will that, dominating you and my very humanity in you, eclipses us and makes us follow its acts. This does not mean that I no longer love you as before, and that I can be without you. Not at all. On the contrary, my will gives you the eternal and complete love of your Jesus, and placing itself around me as a wall with its light, it does not allow that even for one instant I may move away from you. Do you know what puts distance between God and the soul? The human will. Each act of it is one step of distance between the Creator and the creature. The more the human will operates, the more man moves away from He who created him. He loses sight of Him. He decays from His origin. He breaks every bond with the celestial family. Suppose that a sun's ray could detach itself from the centre of its sphere. As it moves away from the sun, it feels itself dispersing light, and if it moves so far away as to completely lose sight of the sun, this ray disperses all of its light and turns into darkness. This ray, converted into darkness, feels a motion, a life within itself, but it is no longer capable of giving light, because it possesses none. Therefore all its motion, its life, is only capable of spreading thick darkness. Such are the creatures, rays of light that come out from the sphere of the sun of the divinity. As they move away from my will, they empty themselves of light, because it was given to my will to preserve the light in these rays, and so they turn into darkness. Oh, if all knew what it means not to do my will, oh, how attentive they would be not to let the poison of the human will, destroyer of every good, enter into them. After this, I was following my passionate Jesus in his sorrowful prison, bound to a column in the barbarous way in which they had bound him. He could not stand firm, leaning against the column, but dangled, with his legs bent and bound to it, and he so oscillated, now to the right, now to the left, and I, clinging to his knees to make him stand firm, reordered his hair all dishevelled, that even covered his adorable face, on which not even the spittle with which they had so dirtied him was missing. Oh, how I would have wanted to untie him, to free him from that position, so painful and humiliating. And my prisoner Jesus, all afflicted, said to me, "My daughter, do you know why I allowed myself to be put in prison during the course of my passion? To free man from the prison of the human will. Look at how horrible is my prison. It was a narrow place that served to contain the rubbish and the excrements of creatures. So the stench was unbearable. The darkness was thick. They left me not even a little lamp. My position was excruciating, dirtied with spit, my hair dishevelled, suffering in all of my members, bound, not even erect but bent. I could help myself in no way, not even to remove the hair from my eyes that bothered me. This prison of mine is the true image of the prison formed by the human will of creatures. The stench that emanates from it is horrible. The darkness is thick. Many times not even the little lamp of reason is left to them. They are always restless, deranged, dirtied with most wretched passions. Oh, how much should this prison of the divine will be wept over! How vividly I felt in this prison the evil it had done to creatures. My sorrow was so great that I shed bitter tears, and I prayed my celestial Father to free the creatures from this prison, so ignominious and painful. You too pray together with me, that creatures may release themselves from their will. End of the reading. The 3rd of December 1929, Volume 27. Difference between the sanctity found in the virtues and the one founded in the divine will. My little mind was wandering in the supreme fiat, and I was thinking to myself, what can be the difference that passes between one who has founded his sanctity in the virtue and one who has founded it only in the divine will. And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, sighing, told me, "My daughter, if you knew what great difference exists, listen, and you yourself know this. The flowery earth is beautiful. The variety of the plants, of the flowers, of the fruits, of the trees, the diversity of colours, of sweetnesses, of flavours, everything is beautiful. But would you be able to find one plant, one flower, be it even one of the most precious, that is not surrounded by earth, as the earth keeps each root as though on its lap, attached to its breast to nourish it? It can be said that it is impossible for man to have a plant if he does not entrust it to its mother earth. Such is the sanctity founded in the virtues. The human earth has to place something of its own. How many human satisfactions in the holiest words, in the virtues that they practice. The earth of esteem, of human glory, always runs and forms its little receptacle in such a way that the virtues appear as many beautiful fragrant flowers of such vivid colour as to arouse marvel. But around them, underneath them, there is always a little something of human earth. So the sanctity founded in the virtues can be called flowery earth, and according to the virtues that they practice, some form the flower, some the plant, some the tree. And they need water to water them, and the sun to fecundate them, and communicate to them the different effects needed for each one of them. That is my grace. Otherwise they would run the risk of dying at birth. On the other hand, the sanctity founded in my divine will is sun. It is up high. The earth has nothing to do with it, nor does the water need to nourish its light. It draws its nourishment directly from God, and in its continuous motion of light, it produces and nourishes all the virtues in a divine manner. Human satisfactions, even holy, vainglory, self-esteem, have lost the way, nor do they have any reason to exist, because they feel vividly the divine will that does everything in them, and they feel gratitude because this divine sun, lowering itself, dwells in them, and nourishing them with its light makes them undergo its transformation to form one single light with this divine fiat. Furthermore, its light has the virtue of sweetly eclipsing the human will, because it is forbidden, even for one atom of earth, to enter into my divine volition. They are two opposite natures, light and earth, darkness and light. It can be said that they shun each other, nor can the light tolerate even just one atom of earth, and therefore it eclipses it. It serves as its sentry, as defence, so that all may become the divine will in the creature. And just as the sun gives everything to the earth, but receives nothing, and is the primary cause of its beautiful flowerings, in the same way, those who found their life, their sanctity in my will, together with it, are the nourishers of the sanctity founded in the virtues. After this I was doing my round in the divine fiat to find all the acts of creatures, past, present and future, so as to ask in the name of all for the kingdom of the divine will. But while I was doing this, my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, anything that has been done from the beginning of the world outside of my divine will are little lights as the effects of my divine fiat. In fact, even though they have not operated inside of it, as creatures would dispose themselves to do good, its rays would fix themselves upon them, and at its reflections the tiny little flame would form in their souls. Because since my will is eternal and immense light, it can produce but light. These little flames, as the effects of it, remain around the sun of my divine will, as honour and glory of its effects, and as the fruits of the good operating of the creatures. In fact, as they want to do good, its rays fix themselves upon them, and give them the effects of the good they want to do. It can be said it is more than sun, that is such that, as it finds the good seed in the earth, its light warms it, caresses it, and communicates to it the effects to form the plant of that seed. There is no good without my will, just as there is no colour, sweetness, maturity without the effects of the light of the sun, so there can be no good without it. However, who can form the sun with her axe? One who lives in my divine will. My will not only fixes its rays upon her, but descends in her with the whole of its sun, and with its creative and vivifying virtue, it forms another sun in the act of the creature. Do you see, then, the great difference that exists? Just like between plants and sun, and between sun and little flames. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.